When you speak on the Crips and stuff like that, man, can you talk about just Cripicola and everything else that's going on around this thing, Bell?
Things have changed. We're changing the narrative.
Talk to me.
We're changing the narrative. You know, I'm just fortunate enough, and I have to acknowledge, I have to give credit to the barbershop as being a training ground for me to be able to communicate with any level of person.
Yeah.
Not only communicate, but also listen. You know, so my ability to create relationships has afforded me some relationships with, you know, some powerful people.
Yeah.
You know, behind the desk and, you know, in other places. And that particular cripping, you know, that I got in the 80s from my homies, never, again, who am I and what am I doing joining something, you know, called the Crips in the 80s? And I had no idea what it was, but it seemed like something that fit me. And I took it. And you know, it's always been that for me for over 30 years. So the relationships that I've been able to build and the respectful relationships that I've been able to build over the years has been incredible. I've met some very incredible human beings, both Crips and Bloods, and have created relationships with them that are long-lasting, that are respectful. You know, it's really ultimately about treating people the way you want to be treated.
When you think about people like Nipsey Hussle, can you speak on him and the character of that Crip during those times you was able to, you know, break bread with him?
Well, one of the first times that Nip came to Atlanta, Big U had called me. It was like, hey, man, I got my artist down there. I want you to fuck with him if you got time. At the time, I was working for Purple Ribbon. And I was like, yeah, of course. I didn't know who he was. You know, at the time, he wasn't nobody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just a homie. And but he's my homie's artist, so we connected, and he jumped in the car with me, and we rode around. I brought him up to Stankonia, and I think we had an event at Stankonia, and at the time, he still had the little Malcolm X chain. Mm-hmm. And what's my man named Maurice Garland.
What up, though, Mo?
Maurice was up there, and he was like, I said, hey, I want you to meet the homie. He said, is that Nipsey? I said, yeah, you know. He said, yeah. So I introduced him, and he kicked it, and he was just amazed. He was amazed to be in Stankonia. You know what I mean? He was amazed to be in the home of Outkast with some of this greatest music that, you know, the world had enjoyed. And then we rode around, we kicked it, and we went to Club Crucial. We went to Club Crucial, and at that time, it was a bunch of little kids.
Yeah.
And I found out, I think they was from Four Seasons. Mm-hmm. I didn't know them at the time, but they were cripping. Like, they was pushing the Crip card heavy, but they was just Crips. They wasn't really like, you know, they wasn't from rolling this or neighborhood that. You know, they was just Crips. And he was like tripping out, hitting his other, because little homie Shitty was there with him too. Not the Shitty who.
Okay.
It's another Shitty, the Shitty that everybody knows. Was there, and they was just tripping like, damn, look at this shit. Look at how we've influenced. And they looking at me, I'm like, cuz it's been, in College Park, it's been cripping.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? From Raymond Crip, 10 Deuce Raymond Crip, 111 Crips, and 6 O's. It's been that. Mm-hmm. So it was amazing to them because maybe they had never been to Atlanta like that. And that's how he and I, you know, started our relationship. And it was just always love whenever I seen him, whenever he seen me. And I would go to his store when his store was just white T-shirts for sale and mixed CDs.
Let's go back to that growth again, because what do you think it was about Nipsey that caused him to die a legend?
Nipsey was determined to do things or accomplish his goals the way he wanted to accomplish it. And if it meant him taking the long route, he would take it. A lot of people might not remember that he had a deal before he was signed to Atlantic. I don't know if it was Epic or something. He had a deal. It was Epic. He had a deal before then, and had a record that my cousin, Pooh Bear, actually wrote with him and Snoop. But from my understanding, and the radio started playing it in L.A., my understanding, Nip didn't really like the record, so he didn't want to support it. And that created a long period of transitional time for him. And I'm just like, he's so dope, but why isn't anything jumping for him? And I will remember going to L.A. with this artist I was working with called Yellow Wolf, who was signed to Eminem, and I would go to the hood and fuck with Big U, and this was probably 2010, 11, and he'd be in the hood kicking, and I'm just like, what the fuck? When is Cuz gonna jump?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it was just seeing him from afar go through that process to finally, he grew into Nipsey Hussle that everybody knows. The Nip back then was still pushing the card. He was pushing and promoting Neighborhood and Crenshaw, and he was on that. That's where his mind was. But at some point, when he started the growth process and he understood there was purpose in some of the things, power and influence and purpose in what he was saying or who was listening to his music, he took hold to that. And somewhere in there, his studies, his research, his personal conviction of what and who and how he wanted to represent the Crenshaw district and represent himself as an African. It was amazing to see people finally discovering him. You know what I mean? And at that point, I had known him for years, but to see people finally discovering him, and then literally for us, you know, for Rolling 60s, it was just like, here's our hero.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even though, you know, hood politics is hood politics, you know, this our man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And being able to have him here and introduce Gunna and Nietzsche and homies from Shady Park and Old National, and bring Nip to Old National to the Palace and all that type of shit for our hood, that was incredible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For our hood. So, you know, Cuz was a complex man. He was a complex man. And he was about his process of creating music with the thought of creating legacy.
When he died, what do you think the world missed out on, man?
I mean, it's the same as with Biggie. It's the same as with Pac. And again, I joke around and fuck around about the whole Tupac shit, but I understand the power of your words. Minister Farrakhan, Savior's Day, back in the early 90s, said that the airwaves are sacred. And he said, if you utilize the airwaves, which is sacred, to promote negativity, you're going to get negativity.
Yeah.
If you promote positivity, you're going to get some positivity, but you're going to get some negativity too. So be aware of what you're planting, what seeds you're planting through your words. So even seeing Tupac revert from his revolutionary mindset to it's MOB and fuck this and da-da-da-da-da-da, and seeing the power of his words create a whole East Coast, West Coast beef.
Yeah.
Like with his words, his conviction, his passion, and his feelings, and how he transmitted that energy through his words. And it attached to people's brains.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People literally were going to get Thug Life tattoos and all this shit. So you, at that point, when you see literally the power of your words, you understand, like, oh, you can create life, or you can be a destroyer of life, or build and destroy, build or destroy. Right. Some of us know what we're talking about.
Thanks.
But at any rate, so not having the opportunity is just like with Bruce Lee. Not having the opportunity to see them evolve or cultivate, become, because as we experience new things, we learn new things. So what we had in our mind becomes old. Once we allow what my instructor, Sifu Terrence Williams, rest in peace, would say, empty your cup that it should be filled. The best way to learn an art is to become empty, so that all knowledge pours in fresh, new, incredible, and unpredictable, and every experience is transforming, transcendental, worthwhile, and real. Even an instructor must become empty so that he too may learn. To see or to not have the opportunity to transform. To transform is like, it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
It's a tragedy for Guru Bruce Lee. It's a tragedy for Biggie. It's a tragedy for Pac. It's a tragedy for Nip. It's a tragedy for Eazy-E. It's a tragedy for all these creatives who we couldn't see evolve. It's a tragedy for Martin Luther King.
Yeah. And Malcolm.
Yeah, and Malcolm.